Well, on the show today is Zake, a graffiti artist, Ira Mukherjee, an author, and Kirano, a worldwide famous DJ. So let's meet up with Zake on Urban Hustle.
My name is Zake. I do graffiti since 3 years in Bombay. I'm one of the pioneers of graffiti scene in Bombay.
There was a time when graffiti was looked upon as an act of rebellion and subversion. Today, those once secretive late-night writers are coming out in full daylight as celebrated artists. Zake is a pioneer of the country's graffiti scene, tagging walls with his bag of spray paints. Mumbai city is his canvas. A fine arts student, Zake's constant experimentation has created an Indian style of graffiti. His style is steeped in Indian roots while having European influences at the same time. Zake has put India on the graffiti world map. He became the first Indian artist to be invited to one of the biggest art and hip-hop festivals in Brazil to showcase his art. Way to go, Zake.
Well, we have Zake with us right now. Welcome, Zake, to our show. Let me take the first question to you right now. You have this fantastic style where there's an amalgamation of European and Indian styles about your art, this graffiti style. Tell us a little more about it.
Talking about styles, I'll talk about how graffiti came into existence. So people were doing graffiti, as I told you in the beginning, they were expressing themselves. So there was a person called Taki 183. So Taki was a guy who used to write his name all over the place, like just with a simple marker or a spray can or anything that he got. So he used to write his name all over, and that buzz was spread across, and people were like confused, like what is this? So a lot of these people got influence. It started back in the States. So a lot of people got influence, and they started doing the same kind of thing. So they used to write their name with the street in where they lived. So people started doing that. Then some people thought, oh my God, this is cool. Or I want to express myself, I want to write. So everyone else started making their names bigger. So that turned out into an art form, it turned out into a style. They were doing block letters. Then people started adding colors to it. And eventually it turned out to be an art form, like a complex but very artistic typography, that's what I call it. And so with the letters, people realized that, hey, we can draw. So they also added a few characters next to the letters, and that's how the style began to evolve. So a normal spray tag, like a name, just your name on the wall without any colors or anything, just an outline of your name, is called a tag. And then when you make like say bubble letters, it's called a throw up. So throw up mostly is like you go and just do like one color fill and one outline. So that's a throw up.
Well, Zake, that is fascinating information. In fact, a lot of graffiti that we have taken for our show is actually, if people can see it on our show, it is your graffiti, your fantastic, colorful, brilliant work. Please help us go through your style, in fact. Can you show us your work and actually explain to us what kind of style have you been using in your graffiti work?
Zake is my artist name, and I represent myself on the street. So you can see the letters, but it's a little difficult to read because I got the style, but I'll show you the letters.
It's beautiful.
So this is a Z, and this is an A, and a K, and E. So I have done the basic letters, and I add an outline, I add some elements, I add a lot of colors, so it becomes difficult to read. At the same time, it's an art form by itself. And there were some artists who had come from Sweden. So this is my really good friend Sagi. His artist name is Sagi, and that is Miss Polly. So they did 2 characters across the piece, which makes it a complete piece. And this style is evolved from what I call a tag, which is just a 1-letter thing, you know, it's just my name. So when people started adding, like making the letters big and started adding colors to it, that's when this, you know, you reach to this point where it's now an art form, you know, it's typography, but in a complex form that only only the artist can read. But it's a cool background, you know, it's colorful, you know, when we do it on the streets, people love it, especially the kids, they love it. So I have seen changes like people don't throw garbage, or you know, the area is completely clean when I do graffiti, because someone who is even there while I'm doing it and he sees someone throwing or spitting somewhere, you know, he would say, no, you know, don't do that because it's so beautiful, you know, we like to stay here because of this graffiti.
Yes, you're right. Exactly my point, that, you know, with such beautified art, the walls are beautified, people would think twice before, in fact, you know, spitting or putting up these ads or posters. So isn't it like, I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it should be propagated across the country.
In the beginning, there was no acceptance at all. People didn't get the idea, like, why would I go and paint someone else's wall? It's just so stupid, you know, with buying my own paints.
Yeah.
And like, even when I was doing it on the street, people used to ask me, are you from a company? Are you like advertising something or painting for a brand or something? But then they don't get the idea of doing it for the love of it, you know. So I had to like explain it to them. People even ask me, "Isme scope hai kya?" And I think that's not how I started. I started it for the love. I chose to be a professional graffiti artist later, but before, when I started, I was just expressing myself. I was on the streets doing it for nothing, absolutely nothing, you know. So yeah, it's difficult for Indian mentality to kind of accept this, but I think soon it will change because the new generation is trying to get into graffiti. They know that there is an art form which they can use to, you know, kind of like show their skills to in the street, and
Absolutely,
it's
yes.
also helped a lot of poor, like what do you call them, like slum people, and you know, a lot of kids who are doing bad things to come out of that and choose graffiti because it gets them some money, and you know, they can be off streets, you know.
Well, thank you, Zake, for sharing with us this fantastic art form.